Hey everyone, this here is a 5-year-old desktop that I will be upgrading with an SSD. It used to be quite capable of running AAA titles, but the 1050 Ti died just recently and the HDD started showing its age. Anyway, I'll be making a repair video for the 1050 Ti, so stay tuned, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified when I upload. For now, let's just move on to the SSD installation. We have two options, either fresh install Windows or clone our old boot drive. If you decide to fresh install Windows, then you need to make a bootable USB drive. Let me show you how it's done. For this, open your browser, type Media Creation Tool, and search. Click on the first Microsoft link. You can see the options here. We're not going to click on Update now. We're going to scroll down and click on Download Tool now. That's going to download your tool. Now we open it up. It's going to take a couple of seconds to load up. Right, we're here. We accept the agreement. While that's going on, let's open the browser again and search for Rufus. Click on the first link. Then we scroll down and download the latest version available. We have the setup ready here. So we're going to click on the Create Installation Media and then Next. Well, you can deselect the default options and choose your own ISO file, but I'm not doing that. Now here, we select the ISO file instead of USB file drive. You can go with the USB flash drive, but it doesn't always work. That's why we're downloading Rufus for it. So we're going to go with ISO file and click Next. Now we have to select a place to save the ISO file and then click on Save. It's going to start the progress like this, 0%. It'll go depending on your internet speed. And after that's done, it's going to show the button there. You press Done. But I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to cancel it for now. Now I need to open Rufus and finish this process. But before that, you need to plug in your USB drive. Make sure it's 8 gigs or more. And then we open our program. So we have the option here, the device, it shows our pen drive. Select your drive from here. Careful not to select something else by mistake because this will wipe the drive. Now we select the boot selection. Just leave it as default or make sure it's disk or ISO image. Then click on Select and find your Windows ISO file. Open it up. And then you have the image option here. Standard Windows installation should be there. So click on it. And then partition scheme. This here should be GPT if you're using a UEFI system. If you're using BIOS, then go for MBR. But it is advised to go for GPT when you're using an SSD. After that, we select the file system as NTFS. Make sure it's NTFS. FAT32 works, but NTFS is better. And then we click on Start and click OK here. This will erase the drive and then start copying the set of files. But I've already done this, so I'm just canceling it. One more thing. So for this to work, you're going to have to disable Secure Boot on your UEFI because Microsoft doesn't like people using third-party programs like these to create bootable disks. Don't worry, this is not going to break anything anyway. Now we have a bootable Windows setup USB. Let's move on to the SSD connection process. For the installation, you're obviously going to need your SSD. This here is a Crucial MX500 5 gigs with DRAM. Careful when you're buying an SSD. Usually DRAM-less SSDs don't have a longer lifespan. You can find why by just Googling it. We're not gonna go into that in this video. Second, you need a SATA cable, and when you're buying a SATA cable, don't get fooled by manufacturers saying that the SATA 3 cables are faster than SATA 2. There's no such thing. Hardware-wise, they're virtually identical. The only difference would be a locking mechanism found on newer SATA cables, like you can see on the picture here. Also, most motherboards come with 2 SATA cables, so you can use that. That would be your SATA power that most modern PSUs already have. If for some reason you don't, you can use a Molex to SATA converter like this. But it is advised to use the SATA power coming out of your PSU. And the last would be the mounting screws. Most new cases come with SSD screws. You can refer to your case manual to figure out what exactly you need. If you're unsure, never force the screws into the SSD. If the screws fit, then it should go in without much effort at all. Time to connect the SSD to the motherboard. So we need to find the fastest SATA port available on the motherboard. Most newer boards have SATA 3, which supports 6 gigabits per second speed. That's the fastest port as of now. Don't worry, if you only have SATA 2 as your fastest port, the SSD will work with it too, albeit with less performance. You can refer to your motherboard manual to figure out where the fastest ports are located. For me, you can see these 4 blue ports. They're SATA 2, but I have one SATA 3 over here. The bottom one of these 2 white ports is SATA 3. I'm going to use that. Connecting the SATA cable is quite easy. You see how the ports are designed? It's like an L shape. Also, your cable has that same shape too. So you can only connect them in one way. Now line the cable up and insert it, and it will just snap like that. The other end of the cable connects to your SSD. It's just like the previous connection. Time to connect the SATA power. Locate a free cable from your power supply and connect it to your SSD. It's just like the SATA cable, just a little bigger. Also, you can only connect one way. Now it's time to screw in the SSD to our case. So this case only has one place for the SSD. You can refer to your case manual to figure out the best place to put your SSD. For this case, I need to screw in from the bottom like this. SSD is in place now, but there's one thing that's bothering me, and that is the SATA power. I can see that it's under a lot of stress here, and it's not really flush with the case. Also, it looks like bending the connector on the SSD. This doesn't look good. I think I'm going to remove the screws and leave it down here. No big deal. SSDs don't contain any moving parts, so it's not going to die on me. If you're facing an issue like this and decide to leave the drive dangling somewhere, make sure it's not interfering with any motherboard connections, because lots of SSDs have metal casing like this one. Time to install Windows on the SSD. We plug in our bootable USB that we created earlier before turning the PC on. After that, well, we turn the PC on. And while it's booting, we repeatedly hit delete to go into our BIOS or UEFI. So we're in. Now we need to locate the SATA mode selection and change it to AHCI if it's not already, because it's the newer, better version and SSDs run better with it. Also find the boot mode and change it to UEFI. Note that only drives with GPT partition style can boot using UEFI. That's why I went with GPT when I was making the Windows setup USB. In my case, I have both UEFI and legacy working simultaneously. Your BIOS may have different options. We also have the storage option control here, so we need to select UEFI. After all that's done, we need to find the boot priority setting, so we can boot using our USB. The settings kind of looks like this. See these here, boot option 1 and 2. We need to go into boot option 1 and select our drive, but the drive isn't showing here. It means it's hidden somewhere else. In my case, I need to open hard drive BBS priorities. Here, I can see all my drives and select the proper boot drive as boot option 1. Then we back out, then go to the boot option 1 again. Now it shows up. I can select the proper drive from here. Notice that here it says UEFI and then the drive's name. And there's one more that doesn't say UEFI. We need to select the UEFI one. Also, you can find an option that says boot override like this, but this is only for one-time boot, which is fine for a bootable USB. But the boot priorities option is more of a permanent option that is meant for your hard drives, or in our case, SSDs. So here we can just go to our USB and hit enter, and the Windows setup will just begin. Or you can save and exit. There is still one more way to boot into your USB without actually entering your BIOS setup, and that's by repeatedly hitting F12 when your PC is turning on, and you will see the options, and you can select your UEFI USB from here. The setup is quite easy. There are numerous tutorials out there. I'm not going to go into that in this video. You need to obviously connect the SSD to the motherboard and boot using your old boot drive. If you're unable to boot after connecting the SSD and getting this error message, then go into your BIOS and select the old drive that has Windows installed as boot drive number 1 from there. One thing to note is that I talked about changing legacy BIOS to UEFI and changing setup mode to AHCI because we were first installing Windows to an SSD. But if you're cloning, then you want to leave those settings as they were before, otherwise your old boot drive may not boot if Windows was installed using legacy BIOS instead of UEFI. Alright, we're in the OS. Now we will download a free cloning software for the clone process. Most SSD manufacturers have their own free tool for this. I have a Crucial SSD here, so let's open the browser and search for Crucial data cloning software. We can see the Acronis True image for Crucial. Let's open that and download it. Don't worry, most of these softwares work with different drives too. So Crucial software can work with a Samsung SSD. After downloading, install and open it. Click on Clone Disk and select Clone Mode to Manual for better control. After that, you can select your source disk and destination disk. Pretty straightforward. Source disk is your old drive that you want to copy from, and destination is the SSD that you want to copy to. One more thing. When we're cloning, we need to see if the partition style is set to MBR or GPT, because MBR is for legacy BIOS and GPT is for UEFI. So if your old drive is using GPT, the cloning tool will say it like this here. Now you can start the cloning process and software will do everything it needs to do and you will be able to boot using your new SSD. But if it's MBR, the program will say so and give you the option to convert to GPT and clone, but I would not recommend doing that. First installing Windows would be my preferred choice. See, converting to GPT and cloning does not really guarantee if you will be able to boot. So, alright, what if you still want to convert and clone? Well, you can, but if you have legacy BIOS instead of UEFI, then there's no point really, because BIOS can't read GPT drives. If you're sure you have UEFI, then you may convert and clone. Just remember to change your BIOS to UEFI. There's one more way to convert to GPT. I'll have the link in the description if you want to read how it's done. I'm not going to go into that in this video. So what if you want to keep the MBR and just clone? Well, go ahead. If the previous drive booted using MBR, then this will too. There you have it, a new Shiny SSD installed and configured. If I missed something, do let me know in the comment section below. Also hit that like button if you liked the video and dislike if you didn't. Subscribe for more and I will see you in the next one.